Tuesday, July 25th, 2023, 8:52 a.m. update. And the topic is waging war. If you know the song by CC1, anoint my head, anoint my feet, send your angels all around. We're on the battleground. For your glory, we're taking territory, fighting unseen enemies like never before. We're waging war. Anoint my head. And you guys seen the "Are You Dressed Appropriately" um, merch that I had? Basically, it's the whole armor of God. Make sure that you got it one. I didn't read it this morning, but as I go through the days, I realize how important all of that is, right? And I say this because that, every step of the way, there's something. So the drug screening. So I went in, something smells so good. Ooh, they're smoking barbecue. It smells good. So I went in, it smells real good actually. I went in and it's distracting because I haven't eaten. But it's barbecue and this place is really good. If you're in Valdosta, and he took the sound down for a while, but he put it back up. It was like some future guy who was trying to take it. It's like he's on and he's off, but it's Bobby Q, Mr. Bobby Q, Mr. BOBBYQUE. It's so good. It's only like $5. He might have gone up a little bit, but $5 to $6 a plate. And to me, it's good. You get good service. Sometimes he has kids working there, but him and his wife, good service. It's pretty awesome. It's a nice place to be. But anyhow, talking about waging war, and talking about the whole armor of God. Wait, because we know that, like Cece said, we're waging war, and we need to make sure that our head is anointed, our feet are anointed. I'm going to the station right now. Head is anointed. Gonna need it for real. Head is anointed. Feet are anointed, and need to make sure we have on the whole armor of God. Let's see if I remember. Helmet of salvation, breastplate of righteousness, and that's so true. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. Shield of faith, sword of the spirit. I got that. The sword of the spirit, and loins girt with truth. So righteousness and truth, and then feet shod with the gospel of peace. I got that too. The sword of the spirit, gospel of peace, 1,000% truth, mostly righteousness, mostly. Faith, indeed, having indeed, indeed for the faith. But so I'm gonna tell you what happened. Went to the drug screening, got there early on time. I think there was one person got there before me. I was the first on the list because of my appointment. Then there was a couple that came just as I was coming. I let them get in front of me. And so the whole thing, and this is about LabCorp. Now she changed the name of this and filed it under LabCorp North Valdosta Road. Um, the antagonist here is Miss Sabrina, and then there's Miss Patricia. So let me tell you about how this all comes into play. So I went in, and it was a little bit different. This time, it gave me a scan code, right? It gave me a scan code when I set the appointment, and I'm like, cool, great. Then, but I was like, that's different. I don't usually use that. I'm guessing I can use it if I want to, but I don't have to because they also sent me paperwork in my email, of course, right? And so then, I go to sign in, try to scan code. It doesn't really fit the little thing. So I'm like, fine, I'll scan my driver's license. I put my driver's license on, and none of the information pops up. And so, I'm sitting there struggling with a little bit. And so I asked the lady at the desk, who's just not saying anything. So I said, excuse me, I have the scan code. This is something that I don't normally have, but it doesn't really fit under the scan code. Just scan it. And then I tried my driver's license, but it's not pulling all of my information in. Can you help me? She says, well, just put it under the bar. And I said, I did. Is it possible that you could step out, and take a look? And so you had to put it like not where the tray is, but under the tray, because it doesn't fit, right? And it wasn't scanning, but it did scan the code. That was fine. And then, she got my name and information and said, fine, okay. So I go to have a seat, and then she calls me up. She says, Ms. Willoughby, and this is Miss Sabrina, Caucasian lady. Miss Willoughby, do you have a registration code? And I said, I may have. I know they sent me something in the email. So I'm looking in the email, trying to find a registration code. So lo and behold, there is no registration code in my email. And as I read through it, it has all the details that basically says, hey, you know, create a chain of custody with this documentation, right? You know, it's telling the people, you know, presented to them, they should create a web chain of custody with the documentation. I'm like, okay, fine. You know, I'm like, I've never had this issue before, you know, so I'm thinking if I just show it to her. So I said, you know, here's the form here. I don't see a registration code. I see a number that starts with this. I think you said it's 9 digits. I don't see 9 digits, right? And so what's happening, to my understanding, I got a little clarification. Everything happens for a reason. Is that people have been, I don't even know, people have been, when the employers usually send over like everything with the registration code and just do it, you know, or they could fax it over to the office. And I guess they're not sending over the whole thing with the registration code or whatever, because I guess some people have been fraudulently taking the the registration numbers and using them for drug tests that are not authorized or whatever, right? So yeah, that's what's happening. But on the same note, you know, they still could have at least faxed it over. But let me tell you how this woman handled it. First of all, she didn't want to help me get registered in. Then I get registered in, and then she tells me that there's a registration code that's needed. I don't see it on the form, so I'm like, hey, I have this form here. I don't think it's on here, whatever. She says, well, then you have to print it out. And I'm dying of thirst now. And she says, well, then you have to print it out, right? And I'm thinking, the guy didn't tell me that. He says, you know, he would recommend printing it out, but I know that in the past I never had to print it out. So I figured I'd just show it to him. But I think they need to assertively say, yes, you will need to print this out, and they need to have a printed copy. Or you need to let them know when, you know, you're going in and they just fax it over. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm calling the main number at LabCorp to try to find out, you know, hey, did a policy change? Like, what happened? What are my options? What else can I do? You know, because I'm here and I'm, you know, I'm not leaving without a drug test. That's not what I said, but that's, you know, that's the gumption that I had, right? And so, yeah. This whole situation makes us, like Kevin Hart said, his mom used to black out, makes me want to black out, but I'm not going to. But anyhow, so moving right along, footloose and fancy free. Next thing that happens is, you know, I say, okay, fine, you know, let me see what I can do. So I'm calling the place. I ask them, you know, questions. You know, is there any other way that I can do this? Did a policy change? You know, is it possible that, you know, you have an email address where I can just email the form over to someone and whatever? And then she said something, and what I heard was that if you have an account, you know, but I think that she meant that for the employer, right? So, you know, then I ended up calling back and asked again. Spoke with Miss Judy, asked again, and I happened to get her again. I think maybe she's the only one, and I said, well, um, you know, is there a way that I can fax it over? You know, because I'm thinking I'll just download the fax out, send it, and then I'm trying to reach out to the employer as well, but they're way on the other coast, so it's like 4:00 in the morning where they are. You know, ain't nobody thinking about no email at 4:00 in the morning. You know, so, you know, unless you're in a desperate situation, and they got jobs, so they're not desperate. So I'm like, okay, fine. But I emailed them and said, hey, they're asking for a registration number, whatever, just in case, because I'm staying until that office opens if I have to, you know. So then I started thinking about other things, going to adjacent businesses and asking them, hey, can you print this out, you know. But so anyhow, I started looking for different fax apps. Most of them require your credit card. Now, as y'all know, I have some situations. So I found one that didn't require one, and then finally, I think the Caucasian lady was the only one there first, and later on, I heard, that there was another person back there. It was a black lady. And so I was glad to see her, Miss Patricia. I was glad to see her because, you know, I feel like I might get some type of service. The white woman was not trying to service me. She was just, and maybe she was just being a Karen, meaning basically she was just strictly going by the rules. I saw, the only person I saw she stepped out and helped was this old white guy. But because he was old, it probably didn't have anything to do with race. Because he was old, older, old, But yeah, but she was telling other people basically adjacent things. So this is what oh, I'm so hungry. I'm like really yeah, so so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to think straight to the police station. So I need to make sure I have my list. Hi, how you doing? I have my list and check everything off my list so I don't miss anything. And if it's not on my list, I'm not going to go there because it might try to turn me into all different types of nooks and crannies. And I'm not trying to go and make even more problems or more things that I have to follow up on. And I ain't trying to do that. But anyways, about waging war, back to CC Winans and back to my armor of God. So, yeah, so I started doing all that. And I said, and I asked her, do you have a fax number? At this point, this is when she sparks up and realized she might be able to accomplish something, and I haven't helped her at all. So I asked her, because when the lady told me, you could have the employer can something, it was a whole big circle that basically the employer can reach out to her and then and have them email it to the LabCorp. And I'm just like, well, can you just fax it? Can I fax it? Do you have a fax number? And she's like, you would have to get the fax number from the facility. So basically, she has it, but she can't give it out. It's, again, the blocking the information. If they don't want you to have it, you're not going to have it. Pretty much is what it boils down to. Okay. So I go to the desk and I asked her. I said, "Excuse me, would you be willing to give me the fax number?" And she says, "Well, here, let me give you a card." So she gives me the card, and I go to sit down. And as I said, and she says, "Are you?" And of course, they're listening to my conversation. Listening to my conversations. Why do they want to have their motors so loud? That's so annoying. That's for no reason. No reason. Just a big old truck with a big loud muffler on it. For no reason, but just to be noisy. But anyhow, so going back to what I was saying. So, I asked her, for the fax number. Of course, they're hearing my whole she's hearing my whole conversation because I'm sitting right in the office. There's no privacy, and I don't want to leave because once I leave, they may try to say my appointment is canceled. I know it's walking. My appointment is canceled, and then, I'm out of luck for another day. And as y'all know, I can't afford another day. I couldn't afford those hours, but I'm glad that, God sent his angels all around here on the battleground. And I'll tell you about how that happened via Miss Patricia shortly. But so, and if you're a good storyteller and you know how to shorten this story, please do, because it's a good story. And if I ever get a chance, I'd like to animate it. But I am long-winded, which we all know. So, anywho, of course, they hear my whole conversation. So what Miss Sabrina, the Caucasian lady, tries to do is she tries to put me into a situation where I feel completely helpless. So what she says is this. She says, when I asked her for the fax number, she says, "Oh, you're going to have your employer fax and whatever." And I said, "Ma'am, as I stated, I'm working on it. When I get to a point where I have something to share with you, I will offer you an update. But I'm working on all of that right now." And so then, as she knows that I'm working on something, she says, "Ma'am," and I couldn't quite make out what she was saying at first, but she says, it sounds like she says, "Can you sit right here, please?" And so at this point, as sweet as I am, I'm just like, I said, "Oh, so now you want me to sit in a specific location, is that correct?" And she was like, No, can you step up here, please?" I said, "Okay." So now she's asking me for my driver's license. This is 45 minutes after I've been sitting there already and should have been checked in, where I asked her to, help me get in. And she said she had me, called me by name and everything. And she says, "I want to double check and make sure the name is not spelled incorrectly." Why would it be spelled incorrectly? You got the scan code information that I sent in, And then she's just like, "You don't use any other names, do you?" And I'm like, no, ma'am. And then she tries to go into, because I'm just like, I'm answering quickly because why are we even having this conversation? You know, you're not trying to help me. And she says, oh, because my husband, he goes by his middle name. She's looking at my information. My middle name is Chung. Okay. That's not a conversation. Why would I do that to myself? You know what I'm saying? And I've been at that office plenty of times to the point where eyebrows were raised like, what is she doing? Why is she, having so many things? What type of work does she do that requires this? Curiosity starts to bring, and they were asking me questions, but I didn't catch the reason why they were asking me these questions, right? And this is in the past, but now they know. And I made it a point to let them know this time. I was just like, hey, I have yet another opportunity. So and I know that there are and have been opportunities. Hopefully will continue to be opportunities, right? So next up, and I don't know if y'all can hear because the wind, I'm in the street where the big traffic is. So next up, she asked me for that for those reasons, which is just a complete waste of my time. Why are you wasting my time? I just told you that I was working on it and I had a seat. You had 30 to 45 minutes ahead of time where you should have registered me and put me in and all this, but you didn't. And she was like, oh, now she's trying to help. She's checking to see if maybe they misspelled my name. And I know they didn't, and she knows that they didn't because I told you I didn't have a registration number. I read the form to you that says this customer or client or whatever employee has not been pre-registered. So you and I both know that information's not there. You're just wasting my time and trying to distract me from completing my goal, which is to make sure that you get this paperwork so I can get on about your office. Okay? Colloquially speaking. But anyhow, so whatever. So I have a seat. I give her that and I have a seat. And I continue to try to see how I'm going to get this information fast. And I continue to email my employer just to let them know, hey, this is what's going on. And I continue to think in the back of my mind, so I'm emailing, looking up information to help me get this stuff to her. And also thinking in the back of my mind, if this doesn't work out, what local businesses and agencies or contacts do I have that, may be willing to fax this information over for me, and then will she be willing to accept it? And here's the other portion of it, though. What she tried to do was even bar that portion of it, okay? Because what she tried to do by saying, oh, is your employer you reaching out to your employer to fax information? Because if nobody's present, she's just gonna make it like, well, we can't accept it, if it's not coming from the employer, so, that's what she was going to try to do, I know, for sure, right? Yeah. Yeah. Um, so anyways, I tell her, like I said, I told you I'm still working on it. When I have an update for you, I'll let you know. So I'm sitting there, I'm working on it, and then finally I see that there's a change, not a change in shift, but a change in patrol. So now Miss Sabrina is going to do the drug testing, and Miss Patricia is going to sit up front and man the front desk. So being that I'm aware of this change, I give it a moment to happen, to take place, for everybody to settle in, whatever needs to happen there, right? And and as I allow that to happen, let me turn off the GPS because I don't need it. I know where I am now. But as I allow that to happen, so when things get settled in, I come up and I say, hi, Miss Patricia, how are you? And I say, I received the drug test, request to take a drug test today, but I say something like this, I don't have, they did not send me a registration number like they usually did, but they did send me this chain of custody form. Typically, you guys take it and input the information. And I said, but it appears that things have probably changed. She said, yeah, they have. And then she said, well, you can fax it in. And I was like, yep, that's what I was trying to work on, but all of them require my card information. And she was like, no, here's one that you can use. And here's a tip for you guys. If you need to fax something, there is a free app. It's a fax app. It's all blue. I have to look it up and put it on the website. But I'm taking all these journeys today just because Miss Sabrina, the Caucasian lady, said, "Oh, stay cool out there." You know, that was her hit, is saying, "I know that you be walking around in this hot sun every day, all day long." You know, so it's basically like saying, "Go get hit by a car." And I've had a church person told me that before, a male church person, while I was on my bicycle. But yeah, but anyhow, and this is back in Orlando. So the wonderful things people wish on people directly and indirectly. So anyhow, back to that. So she tells me, yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, great. And so I'm looking it up and I find it and I do whatever it takes and I get the information. She says, and the fax comes right here. So she's even letting me know that it's gonna come right here. So we're all gonna know when the fax comes right here, right? So yeah. So I see the process of the fax on my device. I see that it's sending. I see that it's been sent. I hear the whirring. I can close enough. The fax is close enough where I can hear the whirring of the fax machine on the other end. But I'm waiting, giving them the time to receive it. So what ends up happening, and now I'm learning management skills because I'm watching how these managers are interacting with people where I think they kind of know that these folks ain't trying to help you, but they're not going to put, they're doing this, and this is what I needed to learn how to do. How do you um, how do you be opening and welcoming with people, set boundaries, but don't end up closing doors or burning bridges and turning people away? And this is what real managers do. I saw it in action today, and I think I've seen it in action in previous places too. This is how they manage it. Oh, actually, on a phone call last night, there was a person in the background that non-emergency phone call to dispatch where I was trying to get information. So this is, oh, they took down the food box. They used to have a food box out here, but this is Living Bridges Ministry Community Center, where, and see, this is what I wanted. It's okay. God got me. Whatever it is I want, it's going to happen, but God is going to do it when it's ready. I see how everything's done. I see how it can be done, and I'm good on all of it. So I'm good. Okay. It's kind of sad though, because then, but they don't usually have nothing there but canned goods, and it's one or two, and I don't even have. Why didn't I had some little cakes or something. I should have put something in my bag, but I didn't think about it. I was trying to get this done. And now I'm hungry and I'm thirsty. I'm going to the police station, which is the ultimate gauntlet. My ex used to say gauntlet. It's like you're in the trap, It's the ultimate gauntlet, the ultimate trap where you have to be aware, you have to be alert because you don't know what somebody's gonna say and just say, and then because you didn't address it or say something back, it's gonna be made in this assumption. And so I need to make that clear, if I didn't say anything directly from my mouth, because they even said it like, how they do, like the police do car searches, and they'll be like, I'm going to search your car right now, and if you don't disagree, then you're allowing consent. Say, I don't, so I guess it would be, I don't consent to being recorded. I don't consent to anything that I don't specifically say out of my mouth that I consent to. I don't agree with anything that I don't specifically say specifically out of my mouth that I agree to. And I'm just making that clear. If it didn't come from my mouth, it's not true. Period. Because I noticed at the end, yesterday when I came back to get the incident report, the officer was like, oh, and we'll say only that, making it sound like I was telling him to leave out information. I didn't tell him to leave out anything, but he was saying he didn't want to complete a report. And, I gave him the brief version of it, 3 sentences. That's what I would have put down if I had an opportunity, but I didn't have an opportunity because, I asked to put in my written statement. Initially, that was the reason that I came, to do a restraining order with my written statement. And then, yeah. All right, I'm hungry and I'm tired. And then after I get this little bit of a meal on, I'm going to have to walk, like, I don't know, a bunch of miles to see if I can get those pants because I want to wear the shoes. I want to make sure that I get everything. They may not even have them, so I need to call, which I need them to understand that because it's like the walk is supposed to be only 5 miles, but when you look it up on Google Maps, I don't know if there's some construction or something weird going on. It's like 15, 20 miles. And who's going to walk 15, 20 miles? And they're telling me, oh, just walk up here. I don't think we have it now, but if you just walk up here, Ma'am, that's a 15, 20-mile walk in the hot sun, and with dehydrated, with no money, with no food resources, you know, if it's possible, if you get those items in, can you give me a call and I'll make a walk up there. But we'll see how it all goes. I am gonna make a call. I'm gonna get off of here now so that I can make sure that I make the ticker list for the police station so they don't have me going. They will send you in all different directions and they will try to ask you questions that have nothing to do with it. At this time I came to serve this purpose. This is the only purpose that I'm here. This is the only purpose that I'm here. You know, I have my time is budgeted for other things, so I have to make sure that I get these items taken care of, and that's it. So that's what we're doing. After that, soup kitchen, and then looking for then I'm supposed to about the council meeting. So am I going to the soup kitchen? I don't know. Depends on what time it is. So looking to the council meeting, soup kitchen, and then the shoes. So it's probably a good 10-mile walk anyhow, but I'm good with it. We're accomplishing our goals. I didn't finish the story on waging war, but I will when I get back.